Hi Sheddies, it's me, Eddie Stevens, Rugby Rant Banter. I'm in my creepy shed. You can't tell that this is a shed probably, but it is. We're inside a shed right now, and it looks weird, doesn't it? Just based on what you see here, it does look kind of like, you know, the kind of shed that if you were to like break into it one day out of curiosity, you might move this couch and find a secret hidden trapdoor. You open it up and inside is a man, an emaciated man in full gimp costume who has been kept there as a sex slave. The owner of the shed has been banging him for God knows how long. It's awful. You call the cops, fucking helicopters flying around. It's all on the news, this huge scandal, this disgusting sex slave situation. But as you learn more and more about it, it turns out that the guy in the trapdoor, the gimp, was never a slave. It was actually, he was a willing participant. He was into it. And they've been doing this for months and months and months, this disgusting, weird sexual relationship that you wish you never heard about. And here's the really fucked up part. You want something to be done about it. It's gross. It's weird. Send these people, both of them, to jail. But when it goes to court, the judge is like, what law has been broken here? There has been no crime. I can't convict anyone. And you're super upset about it. Everyone is, because you want them to be punished in some way. The only consolation is that their lives are ruined now. Everyone knows about it. Their families know about it. They can't live here. They have to move. They probably kill themselves. In fact, they do. They have to kill themselves. And thank God. I'm glad they're dead, because that's disgusting. And it looks very much like that kind of a shed, doesn't it? You know? I'm just saying what you were thinking. But actually, I just use it for rugby podcasting and sometimes these YouTube videos. Anyway, speaking of rugby, England versus Ireland coming up this weekend. We've seen the teams announced. Now, what do we do? Well, what do we do? What do England do? How do England win this? How does England stop the relentless juggernaut that is Irish rugby? They can't. Can they? Maybe they can. It's the kind of thing that you just never know, but you kind of do. They can't, can they? Maybe. Who knows? That's not the end of the video. I just want to look through this England team really quickly and compare it to a team that I suggested England should be playing this weekend on my podcast, Rugby Rant Banter. Check it out if you haven't, for the love of God. And just sort of, I don't know, we'll see what my brain decides to say. What the fuck am I talking about? So running through the team, starting with the front row. My front row to start this match was Joe Marler at loosehead, Jamie George at hooker, of course, and then Dan Cole at tight head. Now the reasons for this are, the only realistic options at loosehead were Joe Marler or Ellis Genge. Maybe you want Beno Urbano there. I haven't seen enough from Beno Urbano to think that he should be leapfrogging either of those two. Joe Marler, for me, you might hate him. You might want him to shut up. You might hate his fucking smirking and his eyebrow wiggling and all that stuff. But he's a world-class loosehead prop. Ellis Genge, on the other hand, as much as I have always loved Ellis Genge, I do think he makes for a better impact sub. And also, I'm a bit worried about him because he has started to look like he's going the way of Kyle Sinclair a little bit. And by that, I mean believing his own hype and sort of strutting around, acting like he's the shit, but not necessarily backing it up in terms of actual rugby performance. I think keeping him on the bench is a good idea. Unleash him, get him fired up, just set him loose and see if he can show us that he's still got it. Jamie George has to start at hooker. Theo Dan has to be on the bench. Although, to be honest with you, I was very torn naming my team between having Theo Dan start for it. What the fuck? I was very torn between Jamie George and Theo Dan starting against Ireland. I mean, obviously with Jamie George captain, it seems futile to even fantasize about anyone else starting at hooker. But you know, when you're on a sort of hiding to nothing against Ireland, you kind of really want to think outside the box and sort of use shock and awe Ireland would not expect Theo Dan to start. And to be honest with you, the kind of impact he's had playing, I almost feel like he might be a better option. But it's all a moot point because Jamie George is always going to start. And you know what you get with him. It's probably safer. But is safety what we need in this match? I don't know. Dan Cole at tight head because you don't get much bringing him off the bench. And I'm actually quite a big Will Stewart fan. I don't mind having him there. So that's my front row. The front row they've got is, I think, completely different. I haven't written down, or I don't have access to the England squad now, so I hope I don't fuck this up. But they've got Ellis Genge starting at loose head, which I'm fine with. It's not like I'm 100% against it. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. God, that's annoying. Do you know what happened to me? 20 years ago, I needed to sneeze, and a co-worker of mine said, "Oh, bless you," like right before I sneezed. I don't know if you've ever had anyone do that to you, but it messes you up. You can't sneeze. That was 20 years ago. And by the way, it was going to be a really good sneeze. One of those really, like, orgasmic sneezes that we love. I call them snorgasms. He snot blocked me. He stopped me from having that sneeze. But the messed up part is, that was 20 years ago, but now, sometimes when I want to sneeze, I'll remember him doing it, saying that, and I still can't sneeze. It's bullshit. Anyway, what the hell was I saying? They've got Ellis Genge starting at loose head. They've got Jamie George starting at hooker, and I believe they've got Dan Cole starting at tight head. Fuck, I should have checked this. I don't care, do you? Second row is interesting because I had named the continuation of Marrow and Chesham in the second row. It just made sense to me. Marrow, you're never going to leave out, and Ollie Chesham, I think, has been better than a lot of people have rated him over this tournament. Hence the fact he hasn't been dropped. But Borthwick has moved him to blindside. Now, my back row that I named on my podcast was George Martin. Oh, I fucked up. George Martin at 6, Underhill at 7, and Earl at 8. So he's named the same second and back rows, just switched George Martin and Ollie Chesham around. Why? I don't know. Is it a good idea? I don't know. Does it make a huge difference? Probably not. But that's what he's done. And at halfback, Alex Mitchell needed to come back in if fit. And that's what I said, and that's what has happened. And Danny Kerr on the bench makes sense to me. I would love to have little Harry Randall running with his candle on the bench, but he's not on the squad, so I couldn't pick him. Danny Kerr makes sense as an impact sub. At fly half, I really felt like it was time for Finn Smith to get a shot. Or Marcus Smith, any Smith. But I think I had named Finn Smith, since he's been in camp, playing pretty well, deserves it probably. And Marcus Smith, of course, is going to be more of an impact sub than Finn. But Borthwick stuck with George Ford, who, you know, George Ford is a great player, but I feel like his time has come and gone. I'm not writing him off completely forever, but he's been out injured for a while, and he's kind of flattered to deceive this tournament. I don't think he should be there. It just seems like a bit of a boring, regressive thing to do, but whatever. In the centres, I was convinced that it was going to be Lawrence and Manu, and that's who I picked, as regressive as it may be to bring Manu back into the squad. I just think if you actually want to beat Ireland, that's the combo that gives you the most oomph and the biggest chance of winning. Borthwick has stuck with the same centre combination we had last week when England couldn't even pass or catch. They couldn't pass or catch the ball. It looked like the most ineffective, worthless, incompetent, back line. Now, despite that, I kind of like that Borthwick stuck with that combination, because it's almost like it was so bad that we can almost write it off, can't we? They're not that bad, the players involved. And if he thought they were the right combo then maybe they deserve another chance. I kind of like that he stuck with that. I wouldn't have done it. But that's a better option than having someone like Fraser Dingwall, who, as I've said 100 times, is underpowered for international rugby. Undersized and underpowered. So that's interesting. Back three, I had a feeling that Feo Waboso was going to be in the starting 15, and I'm glad he is. So I had picked Feo Waboso. I did pick Freeman, and I picked Stewart at fullback because, listen, I love George Furbank, right? I love him. I know what you're thinking. Why don't I marry him? Well, because I might love Stewart even more. I'm torn between the two of them. I'll pick which one I like the most eventually, and then marry that one. But I just cannot believe, I couldn't believe that Stewart was dropped against Scotland. And, you know, as much as I love George Furbank, it's not like he was a roaring success. I do not blame him at all for that. And I had named him on my bench. I still think he's a quality player, great player. But I'm very, very surprised that after the way things went against Scotland, Stewart isn't just straight back into the team. It's interesting. He's not even in the squad. They've got Daly on the bench, which I did not see coming. Also, Elliot Daly, I really like. I think he's gotten more criticism than he deserves. But I think if you're going to not start him, it makes way more sense to keep Furbank on the bench and have a world-class fullback like Freddie Stewart, proven, tested, starting. It's kind of insane that he's not there. That was kind of a mixed up, muddled up little assessment, wasn't it? I basically compared my squad to Borthwick's, and I don't think it makes any difference. I mean, Borthwick's going to pick who he thinks has the best chance of winning, I assume. I mean, there's only two ways to go into this match. One is do everything you can to win. The other is just accept the fact that you can't win and try and build for the future. You know, that doesn't make sense to me. I think he's obviously naming a team that he thinks has the best chance of winning. I predict we will lose by double digits, but it might just be 10. You know, I think hopefully we'll lose by 10. I'll be happy if the players are able to pass and catch the ball. That would be cool. I'll be happy if we get to see some exciting attacking play. I'll be happy if we get to see just basic competence in attack. But we'll see. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Wasn't this fun? I'll be back. Oh, like and subscribe and all that bullshit, you know.